I'm Kathy Callahan-Brady, and welcome to Fitzy's in the Trenches. And today we're here with John Wasilisin, and he is from TEDCO. He's actually the president, so I'm pretty excited about you coming here and spending some time with us and allowing me to interview you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, it's us that wants to thank you. Fitzy is going to be celebrating our 15-year anniversary in spring, so I hope you come back for that.
Will do.
But Fitzy is around because of TEDCO, because of many other organizations, but TEDCO has always been there, coming through the doors, helping to work with our clients and stuff. And recently, many of our clients, like I was saying a little while ago, that there's so many of our clients that are getting funded by TEDCO. So thank you so much for that.
Well, we thank you because I think it's a testament to your leadership and what's going on here in the county executive Gardner, and the business community, elected officials. I think they realize the importance of this innovation ecosystem, and Fitzy is really developing some really exciting opportunities, and we're very excited to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. Well, tell the audience more about TEDCO and what TEDCO is and what it can do for small businesses.
Sure. Well, now we're celebrating our 20th anniversary
Wow.
this year. TEDCO was created in 1998 by the state to help facilitate the transfer of technology from the federal labs and universities into the commercial marketplace, and to help develop entrepreneurs that are developing tech businesses. So that's what we were really set up to do. The thinking was that Maryland was blessed with tremendous resource assets back in the day, but the commercialization of those assets left something to be desired. So TEDCO was created to facilitate that, to go be that broker, if you will, the liaison between that, to provide some seed funding to the idea people to try and get those companies up and running. So we've been doing that for 20 years now. I think we've been pretty successful in helping tech entrepreneurs develop technology, start businesses. And we do that really in two ways. We obviously have capital. We write investments and make investments into startup companies. But we also think that it's just as important for entrepreneurs to learn what to do with the capital when they get it. So we provide mentoring and resources and education services to make sure those entrepreneurs make really wise decisions when they get that capital, because it's hard to get, and you really need to do well with it so you can get the next shot of it. Because as you well know, the entrepreneurs are always in need for more capital.
Yep.
So this fundraising component seems like an ongoing process. So they need to be smart. When they get that first slug of capital after their own self-funding type of things, they need to use it properly. So we think our non-financial services are just as important at times as when we write a check to invest in a company.
Oh, I completely agree. Is that something that is recent? Because something's changed over the last few years with TEDCO, and everybody's saying it, that it's easier. You guys, it's easier to get in, it's easier to talk, it's easier to pitch, and it's either a yes or a no pretty quickly. Things are changing quite a bit.
There has been a number of changes. I think starting about a year ago, a new CEO came on board, George Davis, and George has private sector background, entrepreneur, investor, and he took a look at the landscape and said, I think we can do things a little bit better and more efficiently. So we've done some restructuring, and we've made some changes, and I think that the community is starting to really appreciate those things. I think we are quicker, we're getting answers out quicker, and we're trying to make it easier for the entrepreneur to navigate this stuff, because he or she has enough on their plate developing these companies and working constantly. So we want to be an asset to them and not a hindrance to them. So I'm pleased to hear that it's being received well. We're continually trying to tweak it, and that kind of feedback is important to us. But we think that it's something that the entrepreneurs are liking. They seem to be comfortable with it, and we want to keep moving in that direction to help them.
Well, he's going to hear more because he's actually now on my board. So,
oh,
yes,
great.
He's on the Fitzy board.
Well, now you have him dedicated ear to him, right?
I'm wheeling everybody in.
Work on him hard.
Exactly, so thanks. Normally in these series, we always talk about advice for business owners, but I want you to do something a little bit different, because I know you have this huge legislative background, and that's your expertise. And I think that with entrepreneurs, they're so busy never smelling the roses that they forget about that, and they forget about that process and how it can potentially affect their business. So can you tell me, how does that process affect their business, and how do they get involved in it when they're already swamped?
Right. Well, I think it's very important for local businesses as well as medium-sized businesses to understand the state budget process, even if they don't think initially they're going to be doing any kind of business, because the state budget really impacts almost everything we do in the state of Maryland. So you need to understand at least how it works, and then you can decide how much you really want to get invested in it. So in Maryland, the state budget process is really a two-step process. Step one is the governor decides on an annual basis what is going to go in his budget. So he makes the decisions on how much he's going to fund and what projects he's going to fund and what agencies he's going to fund and at what level. So that's what's called the governor's budget, and it ends up really becoming the governor's request. So he submits that usually like the third week in January to the General Assembly, who comes in usually the first or second week in January. And then the legislature then, this part two of the dance, is the legislature decides what stays in the budget. So a business person needs to understand that if they want something, a project or law change or whatever, they really should be working with the governor's office at the beginning to get that into the budget, into that language into the budget. And then once that happens, then they need to flip over and start working with the state elected officials to just make sure that it stays in, because they'll need their support to make sure it goes through the legislative process and survives all the myriad of budget hearings and reviews and so forth that take place. So it's important to understand how it works, because you could spend a lot of time dealing with somebody and realize, well, that person really didn't have the impact or influence to help me with what I want to do. So understanding it's a two-step process, and you really do need both parts of government to work together to get something to come out. But I think it's worth their while, because it really has the potential to be impactful to their businesses through regulation, through laws, through taxes. All those kind of things really impact businesses. And having a somewhat of an understanding is important. You don't need to be an expert, but you need to know what it's about, and you need to know where they go when you really want to kind of get involved in the game.
Well, how do they stay informed? And is there some sort of advocates that they can use, or are they on their own?
Well, the best advice I could give is to strike a relationship with your local elected officials. And you don't do that during the 90-day legislative session. That is the worst time, because it's really a crisis time down there. There's meetings constantly. You really do that in this time of year, which I call the off season, when the delegates and senators are out of session. Their schedules are much less crowded, and you can go have a cup of coffee with them or lunch and just get to know them, share with them your particular issue or concern. Maybe it's just something you're thinking about that hasn't risen to a level of concern, but get them educated on the topic without the crush of a 90-day session. And then if it's something you want to pursue, you need to work with them and their staff to get them to be supportive of that. And that also works with the governor's office as well. So working with the governor's regional folks and so forth is very important to make those things. The Department of Commerce is obviously the governor's key department for businesses. So getting to know the local commerce representatives, the local TEDCO representatives, Chuck Ernst is our person in this part of the state. That's very important. So it's all about relationships, Kathy, and developing those relationships. And you don't do them when you need them, when it's a crisis. You really do them in the off time, and you develop it. So then when you do need something during a 90-day session, they know who you are, they know what your issue is, and you have a better chance of maybe getting their support.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why at FITCI we're very lucky, because we've got TEDCO on our board. Chuck is always in and out of FITCI. Every time we turn around, he's there. We've got Tamar Osterman from the state there, and she is a great representative and a liaison. You've got Helen, and you've got Richard from the county executive's office and the mayor's office. So we've got that group of liaison that can really help in that way.
You do, and the other thing you have is you have an county executive who gets innovation and technology. I mean, Jan Gardner, Jan and I have had a number of conversations, and she is one of the few county executives that really get it. And moving the incubator down in the city, I think, was a brilliant move on her part. So you have another kind of secret weapon there, and having that kind of support and leadership at the top really is invaluable. So Jan, I think, has been a great asset, and I think she has a lot of creative ideas, and she has people like you who can implement them. That's a great team.
Yeah, she's amazing. She was one of the first board members on FITCI almost 15 years ago. So yeah, she has loved FITCI from right the very beginning. So yeah, we are very, very fortunate to have her. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming. How about you want to leave them with any sort of advice? Anything across the board, or with the legislative process?
No, I think businesses should take a little time to kind of get familiar with the process, and because it's their tax dollars that are being used, and I think they at least should be educated on it. Some of them may not want to get too involved in it, may think I don't want to drive to Annapolis or whatever, and I understand that. but they need to understand the impact it can have on their businesses, funding, regulation, taxes, all those kind of things that could really make or break a business, especially a small business that's trying to get started. So I encourage them to take a look, talk to some other people who maybe have some experience in this space, see what it's involved in it, and if they really do have a passionate issue, it's something they feel strongly about, they need to put in the time. It's not a one meeting type of thing. It really is establishing relationships. And I think if they do that, they have a better chance of being successful.
Very cool. Well, one of the things we like to do here, and with my advisors and stuff, I know them, so I can kind of joke with them a little bit. And I know I don't know you really well, but I still want our audience to know you a little bit better because you're extremely successful. I looked you up.
Thank you.
And people are they say amazing things about you.
Well,
one of the things that they talk about is your mentorship and your leadership. So thank you for that. But do you have a mentor? Did you have a mentor or a coach or something along the way? Is that something you would advise entrepreneurs to have?
Well, I've been fortunate. I mean, obviously, my parents and my father specifically was very much a mentor for me. But I've been fortunate to have a handful of mentors that have really guided me with my career and showed me the ropes. And one of them is a local from this area, Jim Brady, who lives in Imesville.
Great last name, by the way.
Jim Brady and his wife Fran, lovely people, and Jim has been a mentor to me professionally as well as personally, someone that I really admire, a very respected business leader, and someone who's given me great guidance in good times and bad times. And it's important for all of us to have somebody that you can kind of let your hair down and trust and say, this is what's on my mind, what do you think, without fear of being made fun of or whatever, and knowing that you're going to get some genuine good counsel at the end of that conversation. And Jim's been that for me, and I'm just very fortunate that he's very giving with his time, and he gives me that opportunity to kind of burn his ear a little bit on some issues. And sometimes it's sports related, sometimes it's politics, but oftentimes it's just life stuff. And that's been very invaluable.
Which sport?
All sports, football, basketball, baseball, golf. That's probably that's our big things. And so we're constantly solving all the world's problems as well too.
Exciting.
Yep.
Do you want to leave them with your favorite quote?
I think my favorite quote, it's a song I didn't learn from the song, but I think the words are important. It's the secret to life is enjoying the passage of time. And I think what it's special about that is we spend a lot of time thinking about our destination and when we're going to get there, and we kind of forget to enjoy the path there. I mean, sometimes they say smell the roses type of thing, it's the same kind of thing. But a secret to life is enjoying the passage of time and enjoying the journey, because the destination could be great or it could be not, but what you learn along the way could be very powerful. And I've used that as a kind of a guiding principle, and it's something that's important to me, and I think a lot of people probably share a similar thing.
And it's important for entrepreneurs to hear.
Because it is a journey. It is a journey. They're going to have as many no's than yeses, and I think they really need to have a doggedness and a persistence there, and enjoying the challenges as well as the successes.
Exactly. Such great advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
This worked out well.
It did.
And then we get to go see the root building too.
Oh, I can't wait.
More exciting.
Excited.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching In the Trenches. And visit us at fitzy.org to learn more about the other interviews that will be coming up. Thanks.